The first ship vanished without a distress call. It had been a standard patrol vessel, the Varen's Watch, assigned to monitor the outer edge of the Carthan Corridor, a quiet region of space, 40 billion kilometers wide, that hadn't seen hostile activity in more than 2 centuries. Border patrol in the corridor was a low-priority posting, the kind of assignment given to newer crews, the kind of place where nothing ever happened. At 2:17 station time, its telemetry stopped. No explosion, no debris, no emergency beacon. It simply disappeared. Fleet Command marked it as a probable system failure and dispatched a second vessel to investigate. 6 hours later, the second ship transmitted a single image. The transmission lasted 1.8 seconds before its signal went silent. By the time analysts reconstructed the damaged data packet, the investigating vessel was gone too. No record of what had happened. No final transmission. No explanation. Just silence, where 2 crews had been. The image, when it finally rendered on the analyst's screen, showed something large. Very large. It was drifting in the corridor, a shape too massive to belong to anything in any Dominion catalog. Not maneuvering. Not broadcasting. Not responding to hails. Just waiting. The analyst who first saw the reconstructed image later said she had felt cold looking at it. Not afraid, exactly. Just cold. The way you feel when you realize a shadow you thought was nothing has been moving toward you for a very long time. Within 20 minutes of the image reaching high command, a rapid response squadron of 12 warships was deployed. The squadron, Battle Group Heron, entered the corridor in standard formation. Commander Sable Oriath commanding from the cruiser Phaedra's Light. Weapons charged. Sensors active. Command channels open. 12 of the finest warships in the sector, crewed by trained professionals who had drilled for contact scenarios for years. The engagement lasted 14 seconds. Only one automated distress beacon was received. It transmitted a fragment of sensor data before shutting down permanently. There was no debris field, no wreckage, no survivors, and the unknown object was still there, moving slowly, heading inward, toward inhabited space. Admiral Rin Ishida had been in Fleet Command for 18 years. In that time, she had seen accidents, pirate raids, border disputes, and once, the brief but violent collapse of a minor colonial government. She had learned to read sensor displays the way other people read faces. She had never seen one look like this. The central display showed the Carthan Corridor in full tactical projection. Trade routes in pale blue. Relay stations in amber. Civilian traffic lanes, 9 of them, all converging toward the heart of the sector, drawn in soft white. And at the center of it all, one single contact. Moving slowly, steadily, without deviation. Unknown classification. Unknown origin. Unknown capability. Estimated length, 12 kilometers. The size estimate had been recalculated 4 times since the image came in. Each time, it came back larger. Ishida stood with her arms crossed, watching the contact icon move across the display with the slow, inevitable patience of a tide. Around her, the command center hummed with quiet urgency. 40 officers at their stations, each one keeping their voice controlled. She had trained them well. They were afraid, and they were doing their jobs anyway. That was all she could ask. Confirm movement, she said. A sensor officer, Lieutenant Perrin, a man who had been on her team for 3 years and had never once looked shaken, answered without turning from his screen. Confirmed, Admiral. Velocity is steady. No acceleration patterns. No course corrections. Is it maneuvering? No, ma'am. He hesitated. It's drifting, but in a straight line. Ishida felt the wrongness of that settle over her. Objects didn't drift in straight lines through active space. Gravitational fields, micro-impacts, radiation pressure. The universe pushed and pulled on everything. True drift meant randomness. Entropy. This movement was controlled. A course so clean it looked like mathematics. Broadcast status? Nothing. No signal. No transponder. No response to hails on any standard frequency, Admiral. Perrin's hand moved to his secondary display. A small, careful gesture. Admiral, there's something else. The main display shifted. The reconstructed sensor fragment from Battle Group Heron appeared. The object at close range. The room went quiet. Not the practiced quiet of people doing their jobs. A different kind. The quiet of people looking at something they had no category for. The structure didn't look like any vessel design in the Dominion catalog. No smooth hull curves. No visible engine nacelles. No external weapon arrays. Instead, the hull looked layered. Sections of different materials overlapped each other in irregular patterns. Plates of different colors, different textures, different ages, some areas darkened by long exposure, carbon-scarred, and worn to a matte finish. Others were newer, brighter, replacement sections that hadn't yet been weathered by centuries of hard vacuum. It looked less like a ship, more like something that had been repaired, over and over, for a very, very long time. Damage analysis? Ishida asked. Extensive historical impact signatures, Admiral. Micrometeorite strikes across multiple hull generations. Energy scoring consistent with weapon impacts. At least 9 distinct structural reinforcement seams, places where the hull was rebuilt from catastrophic damage, not routine maintenance. Material degradation on the outer layers suggests. Perrin paused. Centuries of exposure, ma'am. Some sections appear significantly older than others. Centuries. No vessel remained operational that long without extraordinary dedication to its preservation. Combat indicators. A pause. No active weapon emissions detected. A breath. But, Battle Group Heron never transmitted an engagement report. The room understood what that meant. 12 warships, crewed by professionals, had been destroyed so quickly that no one had time to send a single line of contact data. Whatever had happened faster than trained crews could react. Ishida studied the trajectory line. The object wasn't heading toward the nearest colony. It wasn't targeting military infrastructure. It was moving along the central corridor itself, the busiest civilian route in the sector. 9,000 civilian vessels passed through it every single day. Estimated arrival time at the first populated system, 52 hours. How many ships are currently in that system? The duty officer checked twice. Approximately 9,000 civilian vessels, Admiral. Passenger liners among them. A silence followed that number. Then Ishida made her first decision. Clear the corridor. Every civilian vessel rerouted. Emergency protocol. Now, the communications team moved immediately. The largest evacuation in the sector's recent history began within minutes. But clearing the corridor solved only one problem. The object was still coming. Ishida turned back to the display. Prepare a heavy response group. 40 ships minimum. Heavy cruisers, destroyers, carrier support, electronic warfare units. Assembled and in position within 12 hours. As engines spooled up across 3 nearby systems, Ishida kept watching the unknown contact. Its speed never changed. Its course never deviated. Then Perrin spoke again. Admiral. Yes. His voice had changed. Not alarmed. Careful. There is a signal. Every head in the command center turned. Source. The object, Admiral. The main display split. A waveform appeared, clean, simple, structured. Slow. Repeating. Constant interval. The same pattern, cycling over and over, with the patience of something that had learned to wait. Translation. The linguistics software ran. Processed. Failed. Ran again. Unknown structure. The officer reported. But clearly artificial. The intervals are mathematically consistent. It's not random noise. Ishida studied the waveform. The object had been silent when the first patrol vessel disappeared. Silent when the investigation ship approached. Silent when Battle Group Heron arrived, weapons charged. But now, after the destruction, after the silence, it was broadcasting. Power level. Low, Admiral. Extremely low. The officer seemed to be deciding how to phrase what he was about to say. It doesn't look like a targeting system, ma'am. What does it look like, she asked. A breath. It looks like a beacon. She was not supposed to survive. That thought came to Lieutenant Mara Velasquez before anything else, before the dim emergency lighting, before the smell of recycled air, before the sound of her own breathing in a space barely larger than a storage locker. She was not supposed to survive. Her station had been on the destroyer Ardent, the first ship the unknown vessel destroyed. She remembered the final seconds, the fleet opening fire, 40 warships channeling everything they had into one target. Commander Moraine's voice steady on the command channel. The satisfaction of watching their weapons connect. Then the unknown vessel stopped broadcasting. Then something happened inside the Ardent's power grid. Not like an explosion from outside. Something more precise. Each power node failing in deliberate sequence, like a switch being thrown at the circuit level. The emergency system triggered. Escape pod. Hull separation, blind ejection, then silence. Now she floated in a metal box, watching the unknown vessel move through the debris field of 40 warships on her external sensor feed, and trying very hard to follow her training. Record everything. Transmit when possible. Stay alive. The pod's life support read 68 hours remaining. She activated the external sensors to maximum resolution. Up close, the unknown vessel was even larger than fleet estimates. It moved through the debris field with slow, unhurried purpose, its massive hull passing between fragments of destroyed ships without course corrections, navigating the wreckage as easily as open space. It did not fire again. It did not hunt for survivors. It simply moved. Mara adjusted the magnification. The layered plating was clearer at this distance. Ancient sections, pitted and darkened, worn smooth by deep space, sitting alongside newer replacement plates. Different materials, different colors, different eras of repair, visible like growth rings on a very old tree. She counted at least 6 distinct material types. This ship had been repaired many times. Over many years. Possibly decades, she thought. Possibly longer. Then she noticed something else. It was still broadcasting. The pod's receiver had picked up the signal automatically, the same repeating pattern Fleet Command had identified before the engagement. Slow, steady, unchanging. She ran a local analysis. The signal structure didn't match targeting telemetry, didn't match navigation pulses, didn't match any military frequency pattern in her database. It looked like a message format, but the power level was extraordinarily low, almost like it was designed to be received only at close range, like it wasn't trying to reach Fleet Command or military stations, like it was talking to someone nearby. Mara looked out the viewport. She was nearby. She was, in fact, the only thing nearby that was still alive. The unknown vessel drifted closer. For a long moment, it filled the viewport entirely, a moving continent of scarred metal. Some of those impact craters were large enough to swallow the ardent hull. Some of the repair sections looked like they had been rebuilt, damaged, and rebuilt again. 3 times. 4 times. More. This ship had survived things she couldn't imagine. Then a panel opened along the port side. Not a weapon port. Not a launch bay. A communications aperture. Her pod's receiver activated automatically. A new signal, narrowband, precisely targeted. Targeted at her. At the one thing in this debris field still broadcasting a live signal. Audio. A voice. Not fleet standard. Not anything in her database. Not even close. The message repeated 3 times, cycling as if it understood that translation needed time. Her pod's translator began assembling fragments. Weak speak. Static. No more fight. Signal distortion. Far from home. A pause, as if whoever was speaking had stopped to find the next words. Lost. Mara sat completely still. This ship had destroyed 40 warships in under 20 minutes. And now it was talking to her escape pod. Then the transmission changed. Her communicator screen flickered. Static resolved in stages. For a moment she thought it was interference. Then a face appeared. Forward-facing eyes, set deep beneath a prominent brow. A flattened facial structure. Bilateral symmetry, close enough to human morphology to be recognizable, different enough to be profoundly alien. The skin was mottled in uneven tones, and the face carried lines she associated, instinctively, perhaps incorrectly, with age. With exhaustion. It looked at her through the screen. Not triumphant. Not aggressive. Not calculating. Just tired. The being spoke. The translator worked harder now. We did not want to fight. A pause. The eyes moved, not evasion. Something more like the expression of someone choosing words across a barrier they know is imperfect. We asked many times. Another pause. We are alone. Static crossed the screen. Then the final words came through, clearer than the rest. Please. The panel closed. The massive vessel continued on its course, unhurried, undeviating. Mara sat in the dim red light for a long time without moving. Her training told her to report enemy activity. She found that she couldn't make herself believe that was what this was. She checked her recorder. Every second had been captured. The battle data, the sensor logs, the message, the face, the word, please. She packaged everything into a high-priority emergency transmission and sent it toward Fleet Command on maximum broadcast. It would take hours to arrive. She leaned back against the pod wall and stared out at the debris field. She thought about the 43 minutes that Fleet Command had noted in the pre-engagement data. 43 minutes during which the unknown vessel had broadcast continuously while Battle Group Orion approached, weapons charged. 43 minutes during which no one had responded. She thought about how the vessel had stopped firing the instant the last warship went dark. Not pursuing. Not hunting. Not escalating. She thought about the word please, coming through a damaged translator from a face that looked like it had been carrying exhaustion for a very long time. For the first time since the battle began, she was very afraid that the fleet had encountered something that had only wanted to be heard. Admiral Ren Ishida watched Lieutenant Velasquez's transmission alone. She cleared the room, sent her staff to their stations, closed the briefing chamber door. Then she sat down and pressed play. The battle footage first, 40 contacts going from green to dark, one after another, in under 20 minutes. No final reports. No engagement summaries. No after-action logs. Then the post-engagement footage from the escape pod. The unknown vessel moving through the debris field. Not hunting. Not finishing damaged ships. Just continuing on its course. Then the message. Ishida watched that part 3 times. The broken translation building itself word by word. The face. The quality of the exhaustion. Something that, even through imperfect translation and alien morphology, read as real. The final word. Please. When the recording ended, she sat for several seconds without moving. Then she pulled up the pre-engagement timeline. The unknown vessel had been broadcasting for 43 minutes before Battle Group Orion engaged. Commander Moraine had transmitted standard contact protocols and received no recognizable response. The linguistics software had marked the incoming signal as unstructured noise. The software had been wrong. She called for her senior staff. Within 20 minutes, the briefing chamber was full. Fleet Intelligence, Operations Command, Strategic Analysis. A diplomatic liaison named Commander Yevatan, who had been part of the Heresi contact team and who now sat with her hands folded and her expression carefully neutral. You've all reviewed the engagement data, Ishida said. You've all seen the survivor transmission. I want assessments. Operations spoke first. Rear Admiral Vance Hollis, a compact man with a precise way of speaking. The vessel is extremely dangerous. Its weapons output exceeds fleet defensive capability. Recommendation, maximum response force. Intelligence, no indication of additional vessels. No reinforcement signals. It appears to be alone. Then Tan spoke. The broadcast pattern prior to the engagement lasted 43 minutes, she said, her voice quiet but not hesitant. During that period, our forces transmitted standard contact protocols and received no recognizable response. The linguistics software classified the incoming signal as unstructured. A pause. It wasn't unstructured. We know that now. No one in the room commented on that. The vessel returned fire 11 seconds after the first salvo, Tan continued. It stopped firing the moment the last threat was neutralized. It did not pursue survivors. It resumed broadcasting immediately afterward. She looked around the table. That behavioral pattern is consistent with a defensive response to attack, not with aggression. It still destroyed 40 warships, Hollis said. Yes, Tan agreed. After 43 minutes of contact attempts that our own software failed to interpret, the silence that followed that statement had weight. Ishida looked at the tactical projection. Then she asked the question she had been building toward. What if the message is genuine? No one answered immediately. I'm not dismissing our obligations, Ishida said. I'm asking what it means if a vessel, lost in unknown space, attempted communication for 43 minutes before defending itself when we opened fire. The intelligence analyst, Sori Naden, spoke up. If their account is accurate, their actions were defensive. Proportionate response to attack. They destroyed 40 ships, Hollis repeated. 40 ships that fired first, Naden said. Not unkindly, just precisely. Silence. Then communications spoke. Admiral, the signal has changed. Every screen in the room shifted automatically. The waveform was different. Longer intervals. More structure. The translation software began processing. Partial results appeared. Want talk? No more fight. Home. The room was still as the final phrase stabilized. We are lost. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Hollis, who had spent the last hour arguing for maximum response, stared at his display and said quietly, If that's true, and we send everything we have. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Ishida made her decision. Prepare the fleet, she said. 3 battle groups. Full combat readiness. Operations began issuing deployment orders immediately. Then she turned to communications. And open a channel. The room looked at her. Broadcast on all frequencies. Continuous repeat. She paused. Message content will be mine. What should it say, Admiral? Ishida looked at the image of the unknown vessel. At the scars. At the mismatched repairs. At the trajectory line that had never once deviated. She spoke slowly. This is Fleet Command. We have received your transmission. We are assembling military forces. But we are willing to talk. The message was transmitted immediately. And for the first time since the incident began, the unknown vessel changed speed. Not accelerating. Not turning. Just slowing. Very slightly. As if something on the other end had heard. The fleet arrived in stages. First one battle group. Then another. Then the third. Nearly 300 warships spread across deep space in a widening sphere around the unknown vessel. Heavy cruisers at the outer perimeter, destroyers and interdiction ships in inner positions, carrier groups at tactical distance with strike craft on standby. Weapons charged. Targeting systems locked. Every ship ready to fire within 3 seconds. At the center of the formation, the unknown vessel drifted. Fleet Admiral Jonas Hale commanded the combined force from the flagship Valiant Crown. He had reviewed Velasquez's transmission, Ishida's briefing report, the Orion engagement data, and the behavioral analysis. He had read the pre-contact timeline carefully. He had paid particular attention to the 43 minutes. Range to full weapons envelope, he asked. Achieved, Admiral. Signal status? Still broadcasting. Same message cycle. We want to talk. We are lost. No more fight. Weapon emissions from the contact? 0 detected. Power levels? Low. Minimal reactor output for a structure of that size. A ship preparing for engagement would be charging everything. Weapons. Shields. Engines. This vessel was doing none of those things. Instead, as the fleet completed its encirclement, the unknown vessel slowed. Then slower. Then stopped. The tactical display confirmed it clearly. Contact velocity, 0. Stationary. At the center of 300 warships. Then sensors reported something that made the bridge go completely quiet. Admiral, power levels are dropping. Hale turned. Explain. Primary systems entering low-energy state. Secondary systems going offline. Weapon signature remains 0. The officer paused. Admiral, it looks like they're powering down. Across the fleet, the confirmation came back. No shield buildup. No targeting activity. No maneuver preparation. The unknown vessel, surrounded by the largest force ever deployed against it, was doing the opposite of preparing for battle. It was making itself vulnerable. It's surrendering, one officer thought, though no one said it aloud. Then the direct transmission arrived. This vessel hears you. Pause. We stop movement. Another pause. We reduce power. Then, we show no attack. Hill did not speak. The voice continued. We asked before. No answer. Pause. We fight because fired upon. A longer pause, as if the final words needed to land clearly. We do not want to fight again. Silence filled the bridge. Weapons officer spoke quietly. Admiral, we have full solution. Simultaneous strike could. I know, Hale said. He looked at the Orion engagement timeline. 40 ships firing first. Broadcast ignored, not out of arrogance, but because the software called it noise. Unknown vessel responding only after impact. Firing with precision. Stopping immediately when threats were neutralized. Not pursuing. Not escalating. Then he looked at the current sensor readings. Stationary. Power reduced to minimum. Broadcasting. Waiting. This was not how aggressors behaved. This vessel was showing him patience. Communications spoke again. New message, Admiral. The waveform shifted. We are alone. Pause. We are far from home. Another pause. We asked permission to talk. Hill looked around the bridge. Thousands of crew across the fleet waited for one word from him. He opened the command channel. All battle groups. This is Fleet Admiral Hale. Maintain targeting locks. The bridge tensed. Do not fire. Hale waited 12 seconds before opening the full spectrum channel. Long enough for every system across the fleet to confirm weapons hold. Long enough to make the moment deliberate, not reactive. A choice arrived at by choice. All frequencies. Maximum clarity. Channel open, Admiral. He leaned forward slightly. This is Fleet Admiral Jonas Hale of the Dominion Fleet. We have received your transmissions. We are holding fire. 7 seconds passed. Then 14. Then 20. The reply arrived. We hear you. A pause. Thank you for not firing. Simple words. But something in the tone, even through imperfect translation, even filtered through alien vocal structures, carried unmistakable weight. Not relief as performance. Relief as reality. Identify your vessel, Hale said. A longer delay, as if consultation were occurring on the other end. This vessel is the Aurora Path. Pause. We are exploration class. Long-range survey mission. Exploration. Not military. How many crew? 212. Pause. Civilian specialists. Engineers. Scientists. Security personnel. 212 people. In a ship surrounded by 300 warships. In an unknown galaxy. The number sat in Hale's chest with a particular weight. State your origin. The response took longer. The translation software worked harder. We are from the Orion Arm Spiral Galaxy designation, Milky Way. 3 officers at their stations turned to look at each other. 2.3 million light-years away. How did you arrive here? We encountered a spatial anomaly during survey operation. Pause. Transit was uncontrolled. Another pause. Navigation systems were damaged in the event. Then, we have been attempting to identify a return path for 19 months. 19 months. Alone. In an unknown galaxy. Hale kept his expression neutral. Why did you not retreat when our forces first approached? The reply came immediately. We did not know where to retreat. Pause. There was no safe direction. Every option was unknown space. Another pause. We attempted communication. No anger. No accusation. Just sequence. When no response came, and weapons fired, we defended ourselves. Hale looked at the engagement timeline. It matched. Perfectly. He asked the question operations had been waiting for. Do you possess additional military capability beyond what we observed? A long silence. Then, yes. Several officers stiffened. The message continued immediately. But we will not use it unless attacked. Pause. We do not want conflict. Another pause, and then words the translator rendered with unusual clarity. We want to go home. Hale studied the tactical display, the Aurora Path at minimum power, stationary, broadcasting, making itself small. What do you require? The delay stretched, longer than previous responses. Genuine deliberation on the other end. Then the answer came. Star maps of the outer regions. Pause. Known spatial anomaly data. Another pause. Navigation references for the intergalactic boundary zones. Then, we believe a return path exists. We need reference points to calculate approach vectors. They were not asking for territory. Not asking for resources. Not asking for alliance. Just directions. And the ability to leave. Another transmission came before he could respond. We understand your fear. Pause. We understand your losses. Another pause. We regret the engagement. Then, with the most precision the translator had managed, we asked to talk first. The bridge was very still. Hale stood without speaking. Then he asked one final question. If we provide navigation assistance, will you depart Dominion space immediately? The answer came back without hesitation. Yes. Pause. We will not return without permission. Another pause. We will record this encounter as peaceful contact. Hale closed his eyes briefly. 212 people. Lost for 19 months. Surrounded by 300 warships. And still asking permission to leave. He opened the fleet-wide command channel. All battle groups. This is Fleet Admiral Hale. Stand down from immediate fire status. Across the tactical display, weapon indicators shifted from red to amber. Then he turned to communications. Transmit this. He spoke slowly and meant every word. Dominion Fleet acknowledges your request. We are prepared to provide navigation assistance. Our intent is peaceful resolution. 7 seconds later, the reply came. Thank you. A pause. Then, quietly, so quietly that half the bridge leaned forward without realizing it. We are very tired. Negotiations lasted 3 days. They were not dramatic. No speeches. No grand declarations. Just long transmissions, careful translations, and slow decisions made across millions of kilometers of space. Commander Tan led the Dominion side, coordinating with a team of linguists who worked in shifts, refining the translation model continuously. By the second day, conversations that had taken 20 minutes were resolving in 5. By the third day, the translation was close enough to nuance that Tan could read hesitation and emphasis in the Aurora Path's responses. The captain of the Aurora Path gave their name as something the translator rendered as Kaivan. They spoke with the precise, exhausted patience of someone who had been making impossible decisions for 19 months and had learned not to waste words. The Dominion provided what had been requested: star charts of the outer regions, 6,000 years of accumulated survey data, representing the navigational knowledge of an entire civilization's expansion, known spatial anomaly records, gravitational instability maps, navigation references built over millennia of careful exploration. In return, the terms were straightforward. The Aurora Path would depart Dominion space immediately. It would transmit its course for monitoring. It would record the encounter, all of it, including the engagements, as what it was, a first contact event resolved through communication. There were other discussions, cultural protocols, future communication standards. Those would belong to diplomats later. For now, there was only one objective: help them go home. On the final day, Hale reviewed the navigation package before transmission. The science team had flagged something. The anomaly signature from the Aurora Path's arrival matched a class of spatial event that Dominion researchers had theorized but never confirmed. Survivable. Directional. In theory, reversible with the right approach vector. Hale included the analysis in the package. He had not been ordered to include it. He included it anyway. Navigation package transmitted. Confirmation received from Aurora Path. Hale nodded. Status of their systems? Power levels increasing gradually. No weapon charge detected. Engine systems coming online. They're preparing to move, Admiral. Open the formation, he said. Give them a clear vector. Slowly, methodically, each ship acknowledging in sequence, the spherical encirclement began to move. Cruisers shifted. Destroyers withdrew from the forward vector. Carrier groups pulled back. A corridor appeared. A path through the fleet. Not ceremonial. Just space, where there had been warships, opening ahead of a single vessel that wanted nothing except to go home. The bridge was very quiet as the Aurora Path began to move. No dramatic acceleration. No sudden power surge. Just a gradual, careful increase in velocity, as if the crew inside were not quite certain the path was truly open. As if they had learned, over 19 months of impossible navigation, not to trust open doors until they had walked through them. Direct transmission from Aurora Path, Admiral. Put it through. The familiar voice filled the bridge, clearer than it had ever been. 3 days of learning behind the translation model now. Dominion Fleet. Pause. We have received your assistance. Another pause. We understand the risk you accepted. Then, we will remember. Hale looked at the massive vessel on the tactical display. Its scarred hull. Its patchwork repairs. Its long record of survival written in craters and replacement plates. He thought about 43 minutes of unanswered broadcast. About Lieutenant Velasquez floating in her escape pod. About the word please coming through a damaged translator from a face that looked like it had been tired for a very long time. He opened the channel. Safe travel, Aurora Path. 7 seconds later. Thank you, Admiral. Pause. Then, quietly, rendered with enough clarity now to carry something like solemnity. 212 people are going home because of your decision. The channel closed. No one on the bridge spoke. The Aurora Path passed through the corridor of warships, 300 ships, weapons still capable, watching a battered vessel move between them and into open space. They simply watched. Navigation tracked its acceleration as it moved away. Gradual at first, then faster still, its power signature rising sharply as it approached the outer regions. Estimated time to anomaly region? 4 months at current velocity, Admiral. After 19 months lost, 4 months was nothing. The power signature spiked. Admiral, they're preparing a transit event. Space ahead of the Aurora Path began to distort. Not the clean geometry of a Dominion fold corridor, but something rougher. More violent. Space-time bending under raw field pressure. The distortion intensified. The Aurora Path accelerated into it. For a moment, the massive vessel seemed to elongate, its shape stretched by the fold geometry. Then gone. A flash of warped light. The distortion collapsed. The tactical display cleared. No contact. No signal. No trace. The Aurora path was gone. The bridge was silent. Then communications spoke carefully. Message from Central Command, Admiral. Review board ordered upon return. Investigation into deviation from engagement directives. Hale had expected it. Acknowledge receipt. After a moment, operations asked the question everyone had been thinking. How should we classify the encounter, Admiral? Hill did not answer immediately. He looked at the Orion engagement data, at the 3 battle groups, at the empty space where 212 people had just begun the journey home. Classify it as a successful de-escalation, he said. A pause. And a warning. Warning, sir. Hale nodded once. Yes. A warning about how close we came to starting a war with someone who never wanted one. The official record described it in careful language. First contact event. Unknown extragalactic vessel. Defensive engagement resulting from failed communication protocols. Peaceful resolution through diplomatic exchange. The review board found that Fleet Admiral Hale had deviated from standard engagement directives. It noted that the decision to open negotiations was made without authorization from Central Command and contrary to standing protocols for unknown hostile contacts. It also noted, in the same careful language, that the outcome had been peaceful. The final determination used the phrase operationally justifiable given the available evidence. Hale read it once and set it aside. Among the crews who had been there, the story was told differently. 300 warships, 1 damaged ship, and the moment when no one fired. Lieutenant Mara Velasquez received a commendation for the quality of her sensor recordings from the escape pod. She had requested a posting to the newly formed First Contact Analysis Division, established in direct response to the incident. The request was granted. She spent the next 4 years helping design better translation software, the kind that wouldn't call an alien language unstructured noise. She thought about the face on her communicator often, the lines of exhaustion, the quality of pleas that had crossed the translation barrier and landed with full weight. She hoped the Aurora path made it. She never found out, not definitively, but she kept looking. 3 weeks after the Aurora path disappeared, the Dominion Science Directorate finished analyzing the transit data the vessel had left behind. The anomaly signature was unlike anything in existing records. Not a standard fold event. Not stable space-time manipulation of any kind currently understood by Dominion physics. The energy pattern suggested something directional, something built rather than found. Most significantly, the exit vector. The Aurora path's departure trajectory did not point randomly into the dark between galaxies. It pointed directly toward the Milky Way, 2.3 million light-years distant. The path was precise, the kind of precision that meant calculation, intention, destination. Admiral Hale received the analysis report and asked a single question of the analyst who delivered it. If that vessel reaches home, what happens next? The analyst was a careful woman who chose her words precisely. If they were already searching for the Aurora path, Admiral, they would know the direction now. They have its departure vector from this galaxy and a destination. A pause. And if they have ships capable of crossing that distance on purpose. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The report was classified at the highest level within 48 hours. But the conclusion circulated quietly among senior command. Somewhere in another galaxy, there was a civilization that could build a ship durable enough to survive unknown space for years, powerful enough to defeat 40 warships and face 300 more without critical damage, disciplined enough, human enough in whatever their equivalent was, to power down and broadcast pleas rather than fight to the end. And now that civilization knew something important, the Dominion existed, and someone, in the Dominion, had chosen not to fire. 6 months after the departure, a long-range observation station on the outer edge of Dominion space reported a faint signal in intergalactic space. Weak, intermittent, barely detectable. The senior analyst had almost filed it as instrument interference before something about the interval structure made her look twice. The pattern was simple, repeating, slow, steady. When the linguistics team decoded the structure, using the translation model that Velasquez's team had spent 4 years refining, the model that was very good now at finding language in things that used to look like noise, the result produced 3 words. Route confirmed. Returning. The report reached Admiral Hale at the conclusion of his review board hearing. He read it in silence, in a small room with a viewport looking out toward the outer regions. He sat with it for a long time. Route confirmed. Returning. Not as conquerors. The signal carried no military signature, no power buildup, no tactical encoding. Just a simple beacon, broadcasting across 2.3 million light-years, carrying 3 words toward the galaxy where someone had chosen to listen. He thought about the scars on that hull. About 19 months alone in unknown space. About 212 people who had learned, the hardest way possible, that the universe contained strangers, and had learned, in the same moment, that some strangers could be reasoned with. He thought about 43 minutes of unanswered broadcast. About the word please. About the moment when 300 ships held their fire. He set the report down. Outside the viewport, the stars were very old and very far away, and between them, in the dark where distance became meaningless and only patience mattered, something was moving toward them. Not as an enemy, as a memory, of the moment when no